Hi, Gary here again, and in this video I want to talk about keeping control. You'll have seen on the marking sheet that there is a section for control, and it covers a lot of different areas. But just to go through some of the main ways that you can keep control, I've broken them down into separate sections. So use positive and proactive instruction, and I have covered that on different videos, so look out for those. Positive instruction, proactive instruction will prevent faults, and it will keep you in control of the pupil and the lesson. Always stay in front of the pupil when you're giving instructions. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're talking about what's coming up, then you should be able to talk them through it, or guide them, prompt them through it, or if it's second phase, ask questions about what's coming up. So you're always in front of the pupil, you know what they should be doing next, and you're either guiding them to do it, prompting them to do it, or asking a question about whether they are going to do it or not. So stay in front of the pupil and try to avoid talking about things, particularly on first phase, talking about things that have happened and you've driven through that situation. If you need to talk about that, then pull up to deal with it, so that you're not losing the control as they're driving towards another hazard. The next thing to think about is to be sure of your own knowledge. That's very important. If your knowledge isn't 100%, the examiner will find that out, and that will make you feel insecure about what you're going to talk about, or about questions that you ask from the pupil, about answering those questions. If you're not 100% certain about your knowledge, then it will show up. So do make sure that whatever the subject is, you fully understand the subject and you know it inside out, because that will let you down. Avoid being sidetracked by the pupil as well. So what do I mean by that? Well, quite often the pupil will try and put you off in some way. And we're talking about Part 3 role play situations now. Real pupils do sometimes do this, but in a Part 3 they'll probably try it on quite a bit. So what you've got to be ready for is the pupil might start talking about something completely different to the subject, or pointing things out and saying, oh, what do you think about that, or you know. So you need to know when to keep control of that and how to keep control of it. Quite often you could just say to the pupil, well, forget about that, that's not what we're dealing with at the minute, we'll deal with that another time. Or if it's totally irrelevant, just say, well, forget that, concentrate on what you're doing now. So you're not being sidetracked and drawn in to having a conversation about something that's not relevant, and then lose control of the situation that you come into again. So avoid being sidetracked by the pupil. If you need to, pull up. That'll keep you in control as well. When you're dealing with faults, you might pull up. If you're going to be dealing with a confusion that the pupil's got, or you want to draw a diagram, those kind of things, keep the control by pulling up, dealing with that, and then moving back off again with a plan of what you're going to do. So pulling up can keep you under control as well. And also be firm with the pupil. Sometimes the pupil might start to do things that they shouldn't be doing, messing around with things, and you don't really want them to be doing that. Let's say, for example, if you're going to be doing cockpit drill and controls lesson, and the pupil's there pressing buttons and pulling levers and doing all kinds of things that they shouldn't be doing, then you've got to tell them, you know, to leave everything alone, sit still, keep your hands to yourself, that kind of thing, and keep them under control that way. So be firm with them without being aggressive, and make sure they know who's the boss. That way, again, you can keep better control. So I'm just going to go through a little slideshow with those key points on again, so that you can see that, and hopefully that's helped you to remember how to keep control.